Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might happen to be in the world. Welcome once again to another episode of IAG Live. Every Friday, 10 a.m. Macau time, we come at you. And without any further ado, let me introduce our intrepid studio producer, Oscar Guiaro. Come on in, Oscar.
Oh, good morning.
How are you? Spain's still in the
Fine.
World Cup.
We're still surviving. Very hard match against Portuguese, and I'm very sorry. We don't like this thing to our neighbors.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is what it is. I mean, when you get towards the end, you've just got to play whoever it is, right?
Yeah, we cannot do it. I would have liked to meet them on the final, not now.
Oh, well,
But
it is
it
what
was
it
a
is.
good
So
match. Very
Yeah,
balanced.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, it's very exciting for you. So it's been a good World Cup, I think. I see you're there at the office, and I'm back in Macau as well. I'm broadcasting from home this morning. And why don't we bring in Ben? Ben Blashke, Managing Editor, IAG from Sydney. Come on in, Ben. How are you, Ben?
I'm good, Andrew. I'm here with my fish.
See, I don't even have to say the fish now. You can just say the fish. Yes,
Exactly right.
it's the most famous fish in Sydney. It was certainly the most famous in Asia, anyway. Been quite an interesting week of news, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been a few interesting stories floating around, Andrew. And look, it's also been plenty happening from the IAG, so it's been a very hectic week. And I popped in for a lunch yesterday at Crown Sydney as well with the new CEO of Crown Sydney, Ken Jansen. It was good to meet him, and ran into a few familiar faces there as well. So it's been an interesting week.
I bet you did. We'll talk a bit more about that. And of course, we had Mad as well, but we'll talk a bit more about that as well. All right, Oscar, we'll say bye to you, and Ben and I will get into it.
See you. Bye.
See you, Oscar. All right, well, let's just dive straight into the stories of the week, because I think those other things we want to talk about probably covered by the stories. And we'll start off with this one, because we mentioned it last week, didn't we? We mentioned covering talking about Melco, what they had done in Yokohama. This is, what year is this? 2021, I guess. Let's see, Oscar, is that, September 2021. I could just make that out. And this is when they sort of walked away from Yokohama in Japan. Just thought I'd bring it up because we mentioned it last week. And then they have a video here which sort of shows what they were going to do, doesn't it, Ben?
Yeah, as we mentioned, Andrew, Melco, I think we were talking last week about the fact that, Melco has quite a global perspective and one of the most global companies in the world. But we brought up the fact that they were very interested in Yokohama, and Lawrence Ho put a lot of resources into the Yokohama planning, and it was a pretty spectacular vision that they had, which the video sort of outlines that. It's a bit of a shame that it never got a chance to see the light of day, but certainly having a look at what they had planned, it was would have loved to see this come to life.
Yeah, would it be great? Maybe Oscar, you can blow that up and just put it full screen so that people can see it, that video a bit better. But this was their sort of parting gift, I guess, to the people of Japan, was this video saying, well, this is what you could have had. And it's a shame, but I think what got us talking about that was Lawrence meeting with the Prime Minister. Was it Uzbekistan? It was Uzbekistan, wasn't it?
It was, yes. Oh, yeah. Was it Kazakhstan?
No, Kazakhstan. You're right. It was Kazakhstan. Yes. So obviously Melco with their flagship property, City of Dreams in Macau, also the City of Dreams in Manila, then City of Dreams Mediterranean, which is in Cyprus, and then City of Dreams in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, in Sri Lanka, and the top 5 floors. Well, the whole building's called City of Dreams, but their flagship hotel is in the top 5 floors of the Cinnamon Life building, which got renamed City of Dreams, City of Dreams Sri Lanka, and they're in the top 5 floors of that John Keel's building. And they interested in Kazakhstan or expressing some interest, and I'm sure they've been to other places as well. I mean, I've heard rumors of Lawrence going up to Clark, just having a bit of a look around Clark. All he has to do is go to a city and the rumors start, don't they? So, they obviously interested in expanding and doing different things around the world, and this is what they could have had in Japan. So, since we brought it up last week and we said that we would show the video this week, we are. And if anybody's interested in revisiting that, just go search it on IAG's website at asgam.com. All right, Oscar, I think we'll move on from the past to the future, or to the present at least, into this week's stories. What do we got first, Ben?
Yeah, this is an interesting story. Moody's sort of exploring the current state of gaming in Asia and looking at obviously the Middle East conflict, and just pointing out that fuel price sensitivity and sort of economic impact from the Middle East conflict around the region, probably not a huge impact around the region for gaming operators, but if it's going to be felt, probably more so from Southeast Asian operators as opposed to Macau. Of course, Macau has a ready-made audience sitting just across the border that doesn't need to jump on a plane to get to Macau, which is a nice benefit for it, as opposed to other jurisdictions around Southeast Asia. So that's sort of a key point of what Moody's was looking at here.
Yeah, as you say, Macau, ready-made audience straight over the border. 50% of all Macau visitation approximately comes from Guangzhou province and Guangdong province, I should say, mainly from Guangzhou. And obviously they don't need to fly. They will catch a train down or basically go with ground transportation. The other 50% of the Chinese, well, I should say 50% of the mainland China visitation, which itself makes up around 60% of Macau's visitation, comes from Guangdong province. 50% all the other provinces combined. 30% then so 60% mainland China, 30% Hong Kong, and I think about 3 or 4% Taiwan, and then rest of the world. So, Macau doesn't have such issues, but it's been hurting Manila. It's been hurting the Philippines because the gas prices there have been very high, and you definitely notice less traffic on the road in Manila at the moment. So less people driving around, including driving to integrated resorts. And Cambodia, I think, would be another one. So hopefully we can get that Middle East thing resolved sometime soon and just get on with business. Let's see. All right, what's next, Oscar? Ben.
Yeah, look, this was just an interesting, not really such a gaming-focused story, but more about what the Singapore government and Singapore Tourism Board is planning for Sentosa Island, which is the Greater Sentosa Master Plan. Of course, this does encapsulate Resorts World Sentosa. That is part of this plan. And of course, RWS is doing their own 2.0 expansion at the moment. And the master plan does reference what's going on there, but tying into what they're doing on the entire island there, which is just a mass expansion of tourism facilities, everything from nature walks, and you can see sort of a platform view there, to there's going to be more hotels and retail and entertainment, and all of it with a bit of an eco view as well. So you can see some of the images there. It looks quite spectacular, actually. And also expanding onto the neighbouring island to Sentosa Island and sort of bringing it all together, with the goal of doubling visitation to Sentosa Island over the next decade or so.
The Singapore Tourism Board's always been very good. Excuse me. Always been very good at sort of planning out what they want the tourism attractions in Singapore to be and what they want Singapore to present at, and the wider Singapore government as a whole. You and I have said in the past that we're quite impressed with how they plan and think things through and know what they want, and then basically go out and get it and guide all the other stakeholders towards that common, consistent goal. So Singapore's got a long history of doing this, and I'm sure this will all come to fruition. So it looks great, doesn't it? And a bit of a family destination, Sentosa. and I think that they know what they want there, and they're going to go out and get it, which is great. So, a good story for you to run, Ben. All right, what's next, Oscar? Your neck of the woods, Ben.
Yeah, this is very interesting, very relevant in Australia at the moment, Andrew. You and I have touched on the fact that the gambling industry as a whole is a little bit of a dirty word in Australia these days. Obviously, we've seen what's happened with casinos. We've seen that online sports betting operators are in the spotlight at the moment. So are pubs and clubs. So for those, I'm sure a lot of our viewers would be well aware of the pubs and club scene, particularly the club scene in Australia is massive. I mean, these are, I was going to say like small casinos, some of them not so small, these clubs, some of them are enormous. But obviously under a lot of pressure, a lot of public and media pressure, New South Wales government is looking to crack down there. So I think there's about 80,000, 90,000 machines in New South Wales alone across the state. I think the highest per capita possibly in the world, Andrew. It's significant. So in response to a lot of pressure, the state Labor government held their annual meeting last weekend, and they've agreed to some changes, which you can see there. They want to impose higher taxes on clubs. That one doesn't make sense to me because clubs actually invest their profits back into the community. Fewer machines, okay, that's worth a discussion. There are a lot. Mandatory facial recognition, that's sort of been mooted as a way to identify self-excluded gamblers or other excluded gamblers, and other reforms for New South Wales clubs. Andrew, I have mixed feelings about this. I think some of the proposals make perfect sense. Some of them are a little baffling to me. What are your thoughts?
Well, look, the club scene's been massive in New South Wales for decades and decades and decades. I mean, this sort of this discussion's been going on for a very long time. I remember I've seen black and white footage from ABC TV in the 50s, interviewing, man in the street kind of interviews. Are there too many pokies in the clubs? And the gentleman saying, too right there is, and this has been an ongoing discussion for, well, we're getting up towards a century. And there are a ferocious number of slot machines in New South Wales. I think you'll find it's a little over 90,000. Many years ago, somebody came out with a statistic that 20% of the world's slot machines were in New South Wales, and then GTA came out and tried to change that by claiming that all the pachinko machines were slot machines, and therefore, it wasn't 20%, it was 1 or 2%. But whatever way you look at it, New South Wales, in particular, the largest, most populous state of Australia, has had an enormous relationship with pokies, as they're called in that country, for a very, very long time. And look, I think I'm with you in that I think some of these changes are probably sensible. Some of them are probably a bit hysterical. Australia at the moment likes to be hysterical about gaming. Are they really thought through? Probably not. They just basically ban, and do whatever they can to get the GGR down as much as possible. But they have to understand and think about the fact that clubs in particular are community-based organisations. They're usually revolving around sporting, bowls clubs or football clubs relating to football teams. They do a lot of good, these companies. They do, well, I shouldn't call them companies, I should call them clubs. They do a lot of good. They pour into supporting juniors in sporting events. They're also a focal point for a lot of elderly people to come to. I mean, you go to the club, you see a whole of grannies getting together, and they put $10 into a poker machine and it lasts all day, but they get to meet all their friends. There's a lot of sort of social and community activity takes place in particularly the burbs in Sydney around clubs. So, doing anything that might hurt clubs in the longer term, it's fraught with danger. And I think the government sort of doesn't really realise that there's a lot of social activity and a lot of social cohesion around these clubs, because you can go there and you get a really cheap feed, go get a really cheap, good quality meal. It's just a great place to go and sit and have a cup of coffee or do whatever you want to do. So I think this is being forgotten in the debate, in my view.
Yeah, I should add too that, I mean, I think one of the reforms that should be introduced to pubs and clubs are, the same reforms that we're seeing in the casino environment. If if responsible gambling in the casino requires mandatory carded play and various other measures, then that same standard should logically apply to clubs and pubs around the state as well. That's not really being seen at the moment. So that's one area that I find very confusing. The higher taxes on clubs, I just don't understand, because as you say, Andrew, they're generally not-for-profit organisations, and the money they make goes back into the club or back into the community. So that's very confusing to me.
Yeah, I mean, you want level playing field in a competitive environment. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and the casinos got certain things imposed upon them because of the, we don't want to rehash it all, but all the inquiries and everything that occurred in Australia, and now, Crown is a great example, but Star is a great example too, where they've got certain rules there, and the player can walk out and literally walk 60 seconds to a pub or club around the corner, which has different sets of rules. Well, how is that a fair competitive environment? It isn't. So I think that the message behind this is that Australia is not doing this in a informed, considered way, consulting experts. It's just so reactionary and negative. There's no acknowledgement of any positive that the gaming industry provides for the country. Well, I mean, there are a number of positives. So anyway, we won't go on and on about it. It is happening, and we'll just have to the clubs will just have to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, agree.
All right, next. What do we got next, Oscar? Annie Chan getting promoted.
Yeah, so obviously we saw Lloyd Robson and Ashley Fong as well depart Aristocrat recently. Lloyd coming back to Australia after a long stint there in Macau. And Aristocrat, but there's a bit of talk within the industry about, who's going to come through. Well, they've obviously, and good for Macau, good for Aristocrat too. They've gone for a Macau local, Annie Chan. She's been part of the team for about a decade now there. We know Annie well. So look, great job for Annie. I think she was born in Hong Kong but grew up in Macau. Has come through the grades there at Aristocrat, and she's now leading the Asia sales team.
Seen Annie at many a Aristocrat event, so it's great to see a local or near local get promoted in that way, and well done to Aristocrat for doing that. I note that it's leading the sales team, not the wider organisation. So, and you've got the same issue at Light & Wonder as well at the moment. The big two, Aristocrat and Light & Wonder, are a little bit leaderless at the moment in terms of the broader organisation. Not to take nothing away from Annie. She should be leading the sales team, and good luck to her. And you've got Phil doing the same thing, Phil Stormouth doing the same thing for Light & Wonder, but they haven't got that focal Asia Pac wide leader of the brand as a whole. So let's see how that pans out. It's interesting times. The big two, Aristocrat and Light & Wonder, had been very stable with very stable leadership and basically sort of ticked on from year to year to year. But suddenly there's been, in the last, 12 months, an enormous amount of movement and personnel movements and changes to the supplier community in Asia Pacific region, hasn't there been?
Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed too, Andrew, talking to people within, is there seems to be constant changes within these companies as to how they represent their regions. So, one day they'll have, a senior executive overseeing ANZ and Asia, and next time they'll just have them ANZ, and then they'll need to find a new person for Asia. This happens constantly, and they're constantly trying to figure out. I guess they're still trying to find the perfect way to attack this region, and I don't think they've really come across it yet. But maybe I'm getting a little distracted by that scenario, Andrew.
Well, I think what happens is when there are personnel changes, then there's opportunities to do some restructuring, and they're probably thinking about that and trying to get it right. And let's see how it all plays out. I mean, at the end of the day, these supplier companies need to sell machines to the operators. The operators need to buy them. So that's going to happen one way or another, and it will settle itself down. The market will determine, and don't forget you've got IGT in the mix here too. You're going to have it's known what's happening there, so they're going to emerge in a few months' time as a player too, trying to push into the market again. Another push by IGT. So let's see how all this unfolds. It'll be interesting at the IAG Expo in September to see who actually turns up and what the gossip is at the expo in Manila, IAG Expo, 14th to 17th of September, IAGexpo.com. Go check it out. All right, congratulations to Annie though, and let's see what's next, Oscar. West Side.
This was just interesting, the little sort of throwaway line I noticed in one of their filings during the week for Suntrust. Of course, Suntrust was the company that developed this idea of building this integrated resort in Manila, and had a bit of a partnership with Alliance Global Group and Travellers International, which is the parent companies of Newport World Resorts. But Suntrust was basically the majority stakeholder in what is now called West Side Resort, previously Letex. And of course, Andrew, you and I wrote about this at length last year. I think it was last year, was it? Time goes fast.
It was.
That Suntrust sort of called in some help from Alliance Global Group and Travellers, some financial help to get this project completed. And of course, as part of that restructuring, Suntrust interest got diluted down a little bit to about 20% in this resort. So it looks like they're looking to expand their revenue streams, and the obvious thing in the Philippines at the moment is to go into this basically becoming a platform provider to the online gaming industry in the Philippines, which a lot of companies are doing. PhilWeb has sort of gone down that route as well. So they've sort of, they haven't said they're definitely going to do it. They said they're exploring opportunities in this field. I thought it was quite an interesting move, Andrew. It seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, yep. It's definitely the activity over there in the Philippines, and the whole Philippines online market is very, very interesting. We'll be talking about that on Monday, September the 14th at the Complete iGaming Idea Summit. So our first ever iGaming summit. We tend to keep in our organisation the iGaming and the bricks and mortar separate. We have IAG, of course, covers the bricks and mortar industry, but it covers iGaming where it affects the bricks and mortar industry. So in the Philippines, where you've got this mix between iGaming and bricks and mortar, we certainly do cover it at IAG. But we also have our Complete iGaming brand that anybody that's watching might want to go and check out, CompleteIGaming.com, and that covers the iGaming industry in the Americas and in Asia Pacific. And that's doing its first ever, we're doing our first ever professional event, a one-day summit on September 14 at Newport as part of IAG Expo. So we'll have speakers there, and it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say in relation, to the industry. My mood, my feeling is that this whole industry hasn't really settled down yet. It hasn't really sorted itself out. It doesn't really know what it wants to be and how it wants to move forward, but it knows it wants to be sustainable. It doesn't want to go down the path of pogo and find itself being banned. So I think that there's a lot of M&A activity. There's a lot of shuffling going on in the Philippines at the moment around iGaming, and I think it will settle down in due course, but probably not this year, probably sometime maybe next year. And, as you mentioned, PhilWeb is a great example of that. Tonette Keogh, the one of our expert contributors, is on the board there. And then we recently did the story about Mr. Go Kong Wei becoming a major shareholder there. You've got DigiPlus moving into La Vie. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of activity around this kind of area in the Philippines. And we won't really know how it's all going to play out until it all plays out. I guess we just need to sort of talk to people and listen and watch. And I think I'm really looking forward to Monday, September the 14th, to see what gets said at the CIG Idea Summit. And if you want to know more about that, just go to IAGexpo.com and navigate to Expo and then CIG Idea Summit. And there's some pages there, right? All right. What's next, Oscar? Our event on Tuesday night, Ben. I suppose I should talk about it.
You should, as I wasn't there. So you were there.
Yeah, there I am in the middle. And there's Miss Daisy Ho, of course, Managing Director of SJM next to me. It was fantastic to get the support of Daisy Ho coming along. Normally it's a bit difficult sometimes to drag those really senior leaders out to events, but we've had Lawrence come to our event at Blind Tiger, wasn't it? Is Blind Tiger? Yeah, it's Blind Tiger up at. Am I getting that name right? Blind Tiger, something Tiger. I'm sure it's Blind Tiger. There's so many names, there's so many outlets and bars and restaurants and things with all the travel I do. Sometimes I merge them. But at Studio City at the W at Studio City. He came to that, and then now Daisy Ho came to this event, which is fantastic. Look, it was it was one of the best MADs ever for sure. Could it have even been the best ever? Maybe, arguably. What made it so great? Well, basically three things. And two of the three were really down to SJM's fantastic support. So we really have to thank SJM. They did a great job. And Portia from SJM was kind of the catalyst to get this going when she came to our MAD at Wynn at Christmas time last year. And then we had the great support of Andy Lee, of course, Portia Leung, I should say. And then Andy Lee, the chief gaming officer, was giving us a lot of support as well. And I think that they were talking to Daisy. And then Daisy, Miss Daisy Ho gave her sort of put her stamp on it and said to the team at SJM, make it good. And boy, did they. So the two things that they probably did was, well, first of all, was the venue, giving us that great venue. That Garden House is a really, really nice venue. Quite new. People don't really know it yet. I guess one of the reasons they wanted us to do it there, to get some publicity out about the event. It's a sort of an indoor-outdoor events venue, and very green. Everything, the carpet's sort of green and cream. It's got high ceilings, as you can see there in the picture. It's got big screens around the room, which we made full use of. There's Dr. Rui Cunha there on the right. It's got good acoustics in there, and it's quite big. And there's several rooms in the Garden House. The room we had was Rose, and it looks right out over to the garden. Those beautifully manicured lawns and garden. There's Daisy and yours truly. Looking out over to those manicured lawns in the middle of Grand Lisboa Palace, very sort of French-looking building. And look, it was great. Second thing that was really great from SJM was the food. The food was absolutely sensational. Had 3 Michelin-starred chefs there. I won't name them; they're in the story. But that was just, everybody was raving about the food, how great it was. There was a really nice beef Wellington there. There was some great seafood. The salmon was sensational. I mean, it was all just fantastic. And one thing that SJM does do very well throughout all their properties, Lisboa, Grand Lisboa and Grand Lisboa Palace, is food. They really get that right. A lot of Michelin stars in that room. And the third thing that was fantastic about it was the crowd. We had a really good turnout, about 150, I think a little over 150 executives, gaming industry executives, but senior, really strong, solid, a lot of senior gaming industry executives. So you can see there's Annie Chan from Aristocrat, from the story we just said before, second from the left, Graham Croft on the extreme left there. Lino Arosa from BCI Worldwide, then Daisy, then myself, then there is Andy Lee, of course, Chief Gaming Officer, and Phil that we mentioned before from Light and Wonder, Phil Stormouth, and our very own Jadeson Ho at the far right there. It was just a really, really good day and a really, really good night, and great conversation. Fantastic for me. I've been traveling for a while, and now I'm back in Macau, and it was great to catch up with everybody. So went off without a hitch. Everything was fantastic, nothing went wrong. Everything played out perfectly. So I just thought it was a great night. And everybody afterwards, I've been getting compliments all week about how good it was and how much everybody enjoyed it. So big thanks to SJM and all our other sponsors as well. Just scroll down, Oscar, and get the list of sponsors. I don't want to miss anybody out. I know we had BCI Worldwide. We had Light and Wonder. I think those two were, help me out here, Ben, they were the platinum sponsors. And then we had Aristocrat as gold. Maybe you could do it, Ben, because I know it's in your head.
Yeah, well, you had Aristocrat, you had Walker Digital Table Systems as well. Yep. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody as well, but that's great support as usual from a lot of people within the industry.
Yeah, WDTS had a big turnout there, but they had Graham Crofty was telling me they had a football team there, so they had about 12 people there. But look, it was very good. Oscar, why don't you click on the picture there? We'll be able to see the sponsors from the picture. Zoom that up. Can we make that up? There we go. Just can you make that larger? There's WDTS I can make out. BCI and Light and Wonder is the platinum. Obviously, SJM.
Macau slot.
Macau slot, of course. Yeah. Macau slot. But Stephen was there. and looking his handsome self as he normally was, and a few of his crew were there. So he's had a busy time of it with the World Cup at the moment. So, obviously that's a very busy time for Macau slot, and it was great, really good event. All right, and we should mention. Oh no, we've got the story coming. We'll mention it later. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? I can't say I'm unhappy about this.
Yeah, look, Phil Crawford has headed the New South Wales regulator for about a decade now. Since 2016, he was in charge of the former regulator, and he was appointed as chief commissioner of the New South Wales Independent Casino Commission when that was formed in 2022, Andrew, which was an interesting appointment in some people's minds, because the argument that some would make is that the regulator was asleep at the wheel particularly when Star transgressed, and in some licensing of Crown Sydney, etc. All of these sort of concerns back at the time during the inquiries. Of course, Phil Crawford has come out and strongly rejected those claims, and I think he said that the companies hid stuff from him. I think it's up to the regulator to find those things. But anyway, so look, they're going to have a new head of the New South Wales regulator soon. By the end of the year, I think Phil is stepping down in November, along with another colleague on the commission there. So a bit of a refresh. Probably not much more to say about that, Andrew.
Oh, I've got more to say about it.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I mean, he really came out and was banging on and on about all these reforms and what he's doing to make everything better and so on and so forth. But no mention of the fact that he was there when it all happened. So, I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it. So, I think if he just very quietly kept on, doing what he was doing and didn't make such a song and dance about all the reforms that he was doing, I think, okay, fair enough. But he wanted to come out and look like he was doing all this stuff, but actually he was there when it all happened as well. And okay, he says they hid it from him. Well, that's a regulator's job to find that stuff, right? Not the media. And it was the media that got everything going in the first place. If the media hadn't have got everything going in the first place, which maybe would still be doing the same thing as what was being done 10 years ago. But anyway, look, all that aside, good luck to him. Good luck to Mr. Crawford and whatever he does next. He's moving out of that position. So, there's no point banging on about what happened in the past. We're at where we're at now, and let's move forward, look forward. So if we're going to look forward, I really, really hope the New South Wales government takes the opportunity of putting in a fresh face, a new somebody that understands the gaming industry, not somebody from some other industry, but maybe a younger person, a person that is really thinking for the years and decades ahead, rather than just focusing on all this negativity of the past. Because well, certainly Crown, and I think it will also be Star under the new Bally, they've turned the page. They, as organisations, have turned the page. Not one person on their boards, well, certainly Crown's board anyway, it's completely different board from the board that there was. All the senior management positions are completely different. The ownership is different. I mean, it really is a completely different. It's still called Crown, but in every other respect, I mean, you haven't got James Packer. You've now got Blackstone. You've got David Sy as the resort, as the head CEO, and then you've got new CEOs underneath. You met the Sydney guy, Mr. Jansen, yesterday. You've got Ed Domingo there in Melbourne. You've got Brian Pereira over in Perth. I mean, these are all people who were not even in the organisation when it happened. You've got Harold Marcus running gaming there. He wasn't there at the time. He was in Macau. But actually, Harold's an enlightened choice because he was at Crown way, way, way back, decades before. So he's sort of familiar with Crown and knows Crown and knows Melbourne. So that's good. Yeah, and I hope that they put in a new commissioner that looks forward about, okay, what can this industry be and be quite progressive rather than continuing on this negativity of the past. So let's see. Do we know? Are there any rumours, Ben?
No, there's no rumours. One thing I did find very interesting in the announcement yesterday by the NICC was there was a comment in there that Phil Crawford and his fellow commissioner were due to actually wind up in May just gone, but they extended for 6 months. And the line in the announcement was to see Star through the end of its remediation process. So that suggests to me that they expect that Star will get their license by November when Phil and his colleague steps down. So that's interesting in itself, especially given that relationship with and his relationship with Star has been a little rocky, I would say, over the years, and Star's brought that on themselves, no doubt about that. But that was an interesting comment.
November, that's not far away at all. It's only 4 months away. So is my maths correct? Yes, it is. 4 months away. So that is interesting. I wonder if they've been doing a lot behind the scenes, Bally's, with the remediation. Wouldn't surprise me, that they would.
I think that's been referenced by Bally's. I don't know if you recall, a couple of months ago, Andrew, there was a statement put out again by the regulator, I think, saying that Star didn't even apply to have their license status reviewed in March. They accepted the fact they had work to do and said, let's not even waste your time by looking at the license now. Let's finish our work and have a look at it later in the year. So I think that's where that process is heading.
But that was a 2-year process in Crown. And I wouldn't even, Star, the old Star would say they'd done some work, but I'd put Bally's at the start line for when they took over. Given how bad the old Star was. So maybe not. Maybe they had done so. We don't know. We're on the outside, right? Looking in. We can just commentate on what we see. So maybe there's more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye, and all of a sudden they're going to come out in November and go, congratulations, you've got your license back. Now, that would only be New South Wales. They've also got to worry about Queensland too, haven't they? So, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit different in Queensland. I believe they still have their licenses in a form, but they've been talking about suspending the licenses for a period of time. So it's all about avoiding that license suspension.
I suppose maybe being a completely different organisation as well, completely different ownership helps a lot, right? Because it's like, well, this wasn't us. So let's see how all that plays out. But I'm looking forward to Australia getting back to some semblance of stability in the industry, and we can stop talking about all this regulatory stuff and actually talk about business, actually talk about the profitability of the companies and what they're doing from a business level. That'd be great to get back to that. We haven't talked about that in Australia for a decade. All right, let's move on. What's next? What do you got for us, Oscar? Yeah, this was interesting. Oh, have we lost Ben? I'll have to do this. Oh, no, Ben, you're back, Ben. This was interesting. It was a story by Pierce. So the proxy betting's coming up as a topic again. It's actually been coming up a bit in the last week, hasn't it?
Yeah, there seems to be. This is a good story by Pierce Chan, IAG's Pierce Chan, our Chinese journalist here in Macau. Yeah, so there seems to be a bit of a proliferation recently, Andrew, based on these press conferences that the Judiciary Police has been holding of people going to the casinos and having little cameras tucked away in their pocket or having their phone in their pocket filming somehow of playing on behalf of gamblers back in mainland China. And they've caught 4 gamblers in 3 groups over the past couple of weeks doing exactly this thing. Acting a little suspicious and found to be placing bets on behalf of players elsewhere. So, yeah, interesting that it's happening. But obviously, I think the operators and the regulator and the police are sort of starting to clue into this, I think.
Isn't it interesting? It shows how in the gambling community, how little trust there is in China. They could set up their own illegal casino, but they just don't trust them. They don't trust them to set up a fair game. And they know, well, if we live stream Macau, we know Macau's a fair game. So that just goes to show, any regulators that might happen to be watching this either now or later, that just goes to show how a well-regulated industry promotes player confidence, in that industry. So the players are obviously confident with what's going on in Macau and how the cards are being dealt on the table in Macau. To proxy stream that out. It kind of reminds me of, you go into the movie cinema and some dude would turn up, would get a camera and put it on their shoulder, making a bootleg video, right? It's basically the same thing, right? Sneaking a phone in and trying to live stream out what the results on the table. And then obviously there's a gang back in mainland China taking bets on it. But it's good to see the PJ, which is what we call the Judiciary Police here. The Portuguese acronym is the other way around. They're good to see the PJ cracking down on this because then those players doing that will have to actually physically get off their bums and come to Macau if they want to play. and get themselves a visa and do everything legally. Doing everything legally, it's the best thing to do in the long run. There's been we've reported a lot over the years on illegal actions, and it's the same old thing, isn't it? Short-term gain for long-term loss. And if you do everything in a well-organized, regulated fashion, okay, it's a little bit more expensive, okay, a little bit more work. You have to deal with the compliance issues and make sure you comply, but it leads to a long-term sustainable game where everybody feels it's a fair and regulated and good game. So, we should do anything we can to encourage that. And well done to Pierce for pointing this out. So it seems the PJ are on a bit of a crackdown on this at the moment, and a few other things too. I think there's quite a bit of a police presence in Macau at the moment. So I think not because I think there's there's more going on in Macau that shouldn't be going on than any other time. I just think that they've decided to crack down on things and try to clean things up even more, which has gone well for them over previous years. Cleaning things up, it's taken the pressure off of mainland China, made the industry more sustainable, more trusted. So I think this is a good thing. Nothing more from me on that. Anything from you, Ben?
No, I'd be interested to see if we might have a few more of these stories in the next few weeks, Andrew. It seems to be a popular thing at the moment.
Yeah, or get Pierce on the case. Any basketball coming up at the moment? That usually is what distracts him. I suppose the football's distracting him at the moment.
Yeah. We've got the NBA China games coming up in a couple of months, I guess.
Of course, he'll be all over that. Yeah. Who is it again? It's Houston. Help me out, Ben. You're the sports man.
I think it's Houston and Dallas from memory.
It's the Mavericks, right? And
Dallas Mavericks, Houston Rockets.
Yeah, that'll be
Texas showdown.
5-game series in October, right?
Might be. I don't think it's 5. I think it's 2 or 3 from memory. They usually play
3 game. Sorry, I think you're right. 3-game series. 3-game series. We should. We should preview that next week. Why don't we get Pierce to? Why don't we get Pierce to write a little story during the week, and then we can preview it next Friday. Sure. As best as we can at the moment with the information that's available at the moment. That's a little job for Pierce for next week. He'll love doing that. He loves his basketball.
Well, he can talk about trades that are happening in the off season, and Pierce is a big Boston Celtics fan. I know they've lost one of their best players, Jaylen Brown. So Pierce is a bit sad about that. He can write about all sorts of things.
Yeah, well, we'll get him to do a little preview. We're going to do a little preview of the teams and what it means for China. And what it means for China, it's massive. I mean, the free publicity that they got, that Sands got from it in mainland China was, I shouldn't call it free publicity. I should call it earned media. I should use the professional term. But the earned media they got was worth, millions and millions of dollars worth of earned media. Good on them. And this is a sort of Patrick Dumont thing. He's done a great job there. Because remember, American basketball, the NBA was not really in a good place with mainland China there for a while. It was off for about 5 years, was it, Ben?
Yeah. There was a bit of a, we were back in the drama, a bit of trying to talk umbrage at a comment from someone linked to the NBA, an NBA executive. Of course, Patrick Dumont and the Adelson family have, of course, invested and bought out the Dallas Mavericks, and obviously they're coming over. So I think that's sort of ingratiated Patrick Dumont into the NBA world, and then he's obviously been working behind the scenes to sort of fix that relationship a little bit. And it was great to see the games here last year, and coming back again this year. It will be very interesting.
Well, as some of the viewers may know, I've been spending a bit of time in the US, given our merger with CDC Gaming, and predominantly in Las Vegas. And the NBA franchise going to Las Vegas is all the rage over there. So they're getting Las Vegas. It's becoming a real sporting town, Las Vegas. It's gone from having no teams, no national level sporting teams, to having quite a few American major sporting code teams. So they're getting an NBA team, and Adam Silver's been out there talking to people, and there's one bid from the guy. His name slips me. The guy that owns the Knights, the hockey team out at T-Mobile. Other talk is for a consortium based up in North Las Vegas, near where Resorts World Las Vegas is. That'll be a huge thing. Las Vegas getting their own NBA team. And, I think basketball will be something we'll be talking about for quite some time to come. So both in relation to Macau and Las Vegas. So, Pierce will be very happy. All right, let's move on. What's next? How did we get from the PJ to basketball? I don't know. Somehow we did. Yeah. Oh, we've seen this picture a few times.
Yeah, it seems very appropriate. I haven't used this one for a while, Andrew. Look, the whole cyber scam hub.
I think you
did
took
take
this,
that photo. Yes.
Yeah, you took this picture up at Clark.
Did.
Yeah,
there's a D heights there, just
a
alongside D
D-height.
heights. So I mean, look, cyber scam hubs have been sort of one of the issues of the day around the region over the past few years. The sort of explosion of these scam hubs, often in bunkers that include some old casinos, plenty in Cambodia and the Golden Triangle region, and even as we saw here with the pogo, when the pogos were around in the Philippines, it was quite a problem around there. So this interesting report from the Asia Pacific Group on money laundering looked at a bit of a deep dive into where are these hubs located and why and all these sorts of things, and it highlighted the fact that special economic zones tend to gravitate towards these regions because the regulatory environment can be a little bit confusing actually in these special economic zones sometimes, not really transparent in many cases.
Yep.
And as such, law enforcement can be a bit lax as well as compared to other areas. So, criminal groups often take advantage of those. The other thing it pointed out is that, this really exploded, this industry, this scam industry, during COVID, when a lot of the smaller casinos around the region, and particularly in special economic zones, people couldn't go there. And so they had to find other means to make money. And, these were sort of some of the casinos I'm talking about are generally the ones that were already run by some colourful characters, Andrew. So they sort of
colourful racing identity, isn't that the expression?
Exactly, colourful identity. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Use of the term colourful identity. So I thought it was very interesting, and they pointed out that the Clark Freeport zone is one of those places where this became a problem during the pogo era.
Yeah, I mean, we love Clark, and we think it's a great area up there. But they did. I mean, the point is the very thing that makes SEZs. I can't believe I'm saying Z. Too much American influence. The very thing that makes these SEZs attractive for business is the very thing that makes them a little bit hard to regulate, because it's decreased regulation. It's meant to be cutting through red tape. It's meant to be a place where you can set up a business pretty quickly and do good business. And then, obviously that's good if you're a good faith actor and you're a long-term thinker and you're setting everything up right. But it's bad if you've got, somebody who's not a good faith actor, they're acting in bad faith and they're just out to make as much money as they can, as quickly as they can, and then suddenly do a runner. And we've got those around Asia. We need to get rid of them as much as we can. Unfortunately, Cambodia has got the reputation of having quite a lot of them, and they're trying to deal with that as a government because that reputation is hurting them. Myanmar is just, that country's in such a, that country's so convoluted that they can't really deal with the reputation. They're just keeping the country together. And so these places are thriving there. And the mainland Chinese government is cooperating in Myanmar to actually go in themselves and trying to clean this up. And they've done that to a certain extent in Myanmar, haven't they? So, and the Philippines had a bit of it too. And I think the Philippines, of those three countries that I've mentioned, probably the most developed, the most regulated, the best run, I would say. So, they have made some serious efforts to try. We have to congratulate the Philippines. People say, oh, it's not like America or Australia or Europe or whatever. Well, no, it's not. But you've got to congratulate them on their efforts, and they're trying to get from point A to point B. So you've got you've got PADCOR cooperating with the PNP, the National Police, going and doing raids on these places, shutting them down. And to a greater or larger extent, they've been quite successful at shutting down some of these bad actors. Now, are some of them still in the country operating? Yes, they are, but they're working hard on it. So at least we're talking about the industry, or talking about the issue, I should say, in our industry, because actually it's not our industry at all, these scam hubs, right? They're just masquerading as gambling places. A lot of them have moved on from gambling. They're into full on, crypto scams, love scams, investment scams. It's not really about gambling at all. So why do we talk about it? We talk about it because many of these organizations masqueraded as pogos, which was a gambling, and some of them started in gambling and they're attached to casinos. So it kind of detracts from our industry, doesn't it? But it's not really even our industry at all. So yeah, good to see these things being cracked down on, and hopefully we can maybe not ever get rid of them all completely, but we can minimize the impact that they're having. I read a was it us that published it? I read a thing about the Chinese government, the US government, and the UK government cooperating in this area because it had become such a global problem, and so much money had been scammed out of people from all those countries. And I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? The US government and the Chinese government and the UK, I mean, these sort of not natural friends. Even the US and the UK these days are not natural friends, but yet they're cooperating on this particular issue. Was that us that published that, or did I read that somewhere else?
No, we have written about that. I mean, a lot of the reports that focus on that problem, and particularly in Cambodia, have actually come out of the US. US enforcement has really delved and looked at this and released a number of reports looking at it. Amnesty International has reported about it extensively as well. And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, China is definitely trying to crack down on these because, of course, it's targeting Chinese citizens in many instances.
Yes.
So, so it's sort of one of those areas where it actually makes sense for these countries to come together and cooperate, because it's a big problem for all of them.
It's a scourge. It really is. And it reflects badly on our industry because it's not our industry. It's not, the kind of professionalism that you see in our industry. This doesn't reflect on that. And there will be a natural blurring of the lines between online gaming and bricks and mortar gaming as time goes on. I mean, that's just, you have to accept and acknowledge that is the way the world is moving. You've got the Kalshis and the poly markets of the world. I don't want to get into prediction markets on IAG. That's more of a CIG thing. But this is the way the world is moving, and we can't bury our heads in the sand about it. We've got to report on it, understand it, and take steps to do it right, and certainly get rid of these kind of guys. So it's something that people in our industry need to understand more. I think a lot of people viewing this wouldn't have a very high understanding of what's going on. The more that we report on it in a non-sensationalist way, because you can report on this stuff very sensationalist as well, I think the better, and the more that we educate people in the industry about this, the more they can understand what the problem is and take steps to avoid it. All right, what's next, Oscar? Must be getting near the end. You just published. We are getting near the end. It's the last one. You just published this morning, Ben.
Yeah, looking forward to this, Andrew. The upcoming Manila After Dark. As we just mentioned, we've had our latest Macau After Dark this week at Grand Lisboa Palace in Macau. Well, Manila After Dark doubles as the welcome drinks for IAG Expo, Monday the 14th of September at Grand Bar and Lounge at Newport World Resorts. And this event, Andrew, just probably our biggest of the year, isn't it? Just gets absolutely massive. The attendance of this event, everybody wants to be part of this one at the start of IAG Expo.
Yeah, look, it's the biggest man of the year for sure, 100%. And look, it's only July, and the event's in September. And look how many sponsors we've got already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 gold, 2 platinum, and of course the venue sponsor as well. That'll probably double between now and the event. We'll probably end up with well over 20 sponsors. So if you quite reasonably priced too. So if you want to be a sponsor, contact Jades and he'll help you out. But look, everyone's there. Every man and his dog is there, and every woman and her cat is there. It's just a great event. And to be honest, we had it at Casa Buenas the last 2 years, and it just wasn't big enough. And the last year it was a real crowd, and we've decided to go back to the Grand Bar and Lounge where we had it in 2023. But a little bit, some surprises in store. A little bit of a different Grand Bar and Lounge. It'll be in 2026. It'll be a great event. And of course, it will be this year, instead of it being the kickoff of the very first event, it'll actually be on the evening of that CIG Idea Summit. So on the Monday, we'll have that during the day. That'll finish, I think, around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then the MAD will start at 6 6:30, I think either 6 or 6:30. So that'll be great, and there'll be a lot of people there. I mean, there'll be well over 200 people there, I imagine, and it's going to be an absolutely great event, well supported. So if you want to be, if you be there or be square, if you want to be seen as part of the industry, you really need to be at that MAD. You don't have to be at every MAD, but this is the MAD you want to be at, as the one on the 14th of September at the Grand Bar and Lounge at Newport World Resorts in Manila, and you can walk there from the airport if you land in Terminal 3. And obviously that's part of the wider IAG Expo, IAGexpo.com. So a little bit of a different IAG Expo this year because of ASEAN, because of the Philippines being the host of the ASEAN Summit, with all the 14 nations of the Southeast Asia come together, combined with the oil crisis and the war. So they had to push a lot of the ASEAN events towards the second half of the year. So we're not going to do it at the Marriott Grand Ballroom. We're going to go back to the Hilton, and we're going to have a small IAG showcase. We're not going to have a full exhibition. We're just going to have a small IAG showcase. But of course, all our other events will have the IAG Academy Summit, 2-day summit. We're having the new event, the CIG Idea Summit, the iGaming Summit. And of course, we're going to have the big awards night. We always have. That's a great night. On the Tuesday evening, we'll be having it in the Manila Ballroom, the same venue as last year, the larger venue than the year before. And the invitation-only regulators forum on the Thursday as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a great event, the IAG Expo. Go check it out, IAGexpo.com, IAGEXPO.com. So, yeah, really looking forward to that, Matt. That's always a really great event to kick off the Expo. And our friends there at Newport are already gearing up for it. And in fact, last week I was there in Manila along with Dorothy and Yolanda and her new employee, Gilletta. And the four of us were working with the team at Newport in preparations for the Expo. So the IAG events crew were there, making sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. All right. Well, that's that. I think that's the last one, isn't it, Oscar? Unless I'm mistaken. All right. It is the last one. So an interesting week, Ben, in the gaming industry. Oh, here we go. Got some Philippines approach. Kelsey Wilhelm, the senior contributing editor for IAG, chipping in there. Philippines approach to eliminating bad actors while still maintaining a healthy, high regulated online gaming sector is laudable. Absolutely it is. And Kelsey's doing a bit of work on our complete iGaming brand, so you should definitely go and check that out. And then the one here, Tom Rickard, General Manager of VIP Services, new position. I can't read what's down the bottom there, so help me out, Oscar. The ticker at the bottom is blocking. Oh, new position, General Manager. So there we go. Somebody's there we go. And now here we another comment, Paul Macaulay. Great episode. Thank you, Paul. Especially comments around NICC and Star. Yeah, I mean, well, Ben, you're the one on the ground there. I mean, Paul's brought that up. Do you have any further comments or thoughts on that? I mean, it's going to be really interesting what happens with Star, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it, Andrew. They're a couple of years behind Crown in this remediation process. I mean, we spent quite a bit of time down at Crown Melbourne a couple of months ago for the Aussie Millions, and that property is going great. Even Crown Sydney, I remember going to the casino in Crown Sydney 2 years ago maybe, and it was dead. Well, I had a look around the casino there last week. It was busy. There was a lot going on in there, so that's great to see.
Oh, I've noticed walking around Crown Melbourne, much better environment, much better atmosphere. I mean, there was a period there where they had all those black and white signs up. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. I mean, they weren't marketing signs; they were compliance signs, and all of those are down now because they've sort of they've worked out how to do it. It's not that they're not complying; they are complying. But they've sort of worked out how to do it now and create a bit of buzz. So it's great. And that Crown Sydney property, it's magnificent. It's such a beautiful property. Obviously, it has some issues because it was built for a market that doesn't exist anymore. But they're just going to have to work. Blackstone are just going to have to work out what to do with it. And we've got a comment here from Pirate 7089. Significant staff changes down under at Crown Blackstone. Isn't that interesting? You called it Crown Blackstone, didn't call it Crown Melbourne or Crown Australia. Tom Rickard from General Manager VIP Services to new position, General Manager Casino Marketing. So, well, congratulations to Tom. Maybe we'll follow that up then.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Crown is starting to dabble in the international market again. Obviously, not China at all, but some other markets where they've been given the green light to do so. Star is not in that space at all at the moment, as we said. So the goal for Star now will be get that license back, put all this stuff behind them, start to be able to focus on operations again, and then you might hopefully see Star start to go on that upward trajectory again, which is what we've seen from Crown over the past couple of years.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree with you more. That's what they got to do. So it's good to see. It's good to see Crown dabbling a little bit in international marketing, and of course they put aside $200 million for upgrades and investment, which is good. I would describe as a good start. It's better than not putting aside $200 million for that. So they'll be working through that. I'm sure Ed Domingo and David Sy will be working on that with the Blackstone guys, and we'll see some upgrades. A couple of new restaurants in Crown. I mean, this is what we should be talking about. We should be talking about new restaurants, upgrades, maybe a nightclub or whatever, whatever the latest entertainment on offer. This is what we want to be talking about. We don't want to be talking about mandatory carded play and all this stuff. We've been talking about that for far too long. All right, what's on the agenda for the weekend, Ben?
Not a whole lot, Andrew. I'll be having lunch with Mum on Sunday. That's about it.
Good.
Nothing too hectic.
Yep. Bit of World Cup.
Bit of World Cup, bit of rugby league, bit of AFL, bit of everything, watching some footy. Yeah.
Would stupid yours truly be working all weekend? I've got to catch up on so much work. But of course I'll have the TV on for the World Cup. We got it free to air here, which is good. So in Macau. So I'll certainly be watching those guys, setting the alarm, watching as a 4 a.m. the next game, I think, or something. Or 3 a.m. or something ridiculous tomorrow. So I'll certainly be watching those and staying in Macau for a while. Thankfully, I can avoid a bit of travel for a while. So all through July, which is kind of not a great month to be in Macau. It's hot and humid and everybody leaves Macau in July, but that's probably a good month for me to get some work done. So I'll be in Macau all month. So if there's anybody out there in Macau land that needs to catch up, let me know. Reach out, and it's a good month to catch up. All right, that's it for us, from us at IAG Live. Did we crack the hour? We've just cracked 1 hour. So great episode. Really enjoyed doing that with you, Ben, and have a great weekend. And say bye, Ben.
Bye, Ben.
That's it from us. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you next week. Bye.